Hey, you alright? Welcome to another video. If you haven't been here before, my name is Georgia Jo and this is my channel where I talk all things books. So today I thought I would go through the books that are on my Kindle. Most of these are on Kindle Unlimited. I have definitely bought some books on here, but most of them are on Kindle Unlimited, which I would definitely recommend getting. Even if you don't want to buy a Kindle, for the first maybe year, I would say the majority of 2022, I want to say, when I first got properly back into reading. I've always enjoyed it, but when I like really got back into it and like was on Book Talk and BookTube and all that stuff, I actually read off my phone on the Kindle app, genuinely probably for the first year, and then at the end of that year for Christmas I got a Kindle. So yeah, you can still read Kindle books on, I think you can probably even do it on any kind of, if you've got any kind of like iPad or whatever, any kind of device that you can get the Kindle app on, you can read. You don't necessarily need a Kindle, but I would definitely recommend getting one. I don't actually know which model this is. I think it's maybe just the Paperwhite, but yeah. So I thought I would go through the books that I have on here, what I'm looking forward to reading, and yeah, just see what's on my Kindle TBR. Okay, so also a little side note, I'm not 100% sure, but I think the way Kindle Unlimited is, it's different in each country. So these are the Kindle Unlimited books that I have in the UK. I don't know if it's the same everywhere. But yeah, let's just get into it. So the book that I'm actually reading at the moment is on Kindle Unlimited. I actually have this book in 3 different formats. I have it on my Kindle, I have a hardback, and I have a paperback. And I probably could listen to it if I really wanted to, but it is Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare. So this book is I think I'm about halfway through it, but it's like a fantasy where Kel is the prince's sword catcher, which basically means he has this like talisman, like necklace thing that's got magic in it, and other people see him as the prince. It makes him look like the prince to people that don't know he's not the prince. So he can, you know, if there's like danger, if they're worried about an assassination, Kel will take the prince's place basically to do like speeches or whatever. So he always has to be dressed the same, he's constantly with the prince, he has to learn all the speeches just in case he needs to, you know, go on and pretend, and he basically will die if someone wants to kill Prince Connor. Kel will be the first protocol if they are worried about it. So yeah, that's what they call a sword catcher. But there's all like there's a different mystery involved. You're following Kel in sort of one half of it, and then you're following Lynn in another half of it, where she is a physician. I always struggle to say that word. She's a physician. She's a doctor, like, type thing. But she has what's called Ashkari magic, and the Ashkari people are very like shunned. It's very frowned upon. People don't trust it. It didn't always used to be like that, but now it is. And so she kind of, people didn't trust her to be like their doctor and look after them, but she sort of built this reputation for being really good at what she does. And she's also got her own kind of mystery that she's trying to solve, but they don't let her borrow books from the big library. She's not allowed to sort of, she's just getting stopped at each part of her like investigation because she is Ashkari. So yeah, you're following those two. It's not necessarily dual POV, it's in third person, which at first, especially the prologue, it took me a bit to get into, but once I got past that, I was like, I feel really invested in it now. Like I say, I'm about halfway through. It is a chunky book, which you don't necessarily realise on your Kindle until you see the physical copy, but it is a chunky book, but it is so good. I'm really enjoying it so far. And yeah, that's my current read, so I'll probably get that read in the next few days, but that's what I'm on at the moment. And then next up we have the 8th book in the Zodiac Academy. It is called Sorrow and Starlight. So that's where I'm up to. I've read all the others. I think I've got 8 and 9 of the physical books left, of the full books left, and then I've got a few novellas to read, and then I'll be done with the series. I don't own these in physical copy. I would absolutely love to, and I probably will at some point, but to buy them all, it's like over £200 to buy them. I can only find them on Amazon. I don't think I've ever seen them in like physical shops. But yeah, I would like to have them all at some point, but maybe I'll just every month or something buy one of the books, something like that. So by the end of the year I'll have them all. But yeah, so I think I'm on the 8th one, which is Sorrow and Starlight. So this is another fantasy series. It's a very long one, like I say, to get into. I think the 9th one only came out this year maybe, or last year. I think it might have been this year the last one came out. And it is, yeah, it's a very long series to get into, but it is really enjoyable. I think especially because it's on the Kindle. I think if I was reading the physical books I probably wouldn't enjoy it as much, but because it's on the Kindle I can just read it in bed when I don't know what to read, or you know, here and there, like on my lunch when I'm in the office or whatever. So that's the sort of way, that's the method I've been using to get through it, just reading it here and there rather than just sitting and reading it. Although I do find with this series, the first one is a little bit slow because you're being introduced to everything and the magic system and the characters and everything like that, and it's definitely a bully romance, which I don't always enjoy, but I don't know what it is, I've really got into this series. And I find after the first, maybe even just the first book, once you're in the second and the third, it like took over my life. It's all I wanted to read for a while, and then I was like, I need a break. I need to have a break from it. I need to read some other books. So yeah, that's why I've still got the 8th and 9th and then some novellas left, but I'll probably start it up soon. I feel like I've had quite a long break from it now, so I'll probably get those two read maybe by like February or something. In the next couple of months I'll get the rest of them read. So that's the Zodiac Academy. And then we have got a new series where I actually saw the author on TikTok. She's called Envy Wright, or at least that's her writing name, and it's called The Female. So this is a fantasy reverse harem romance, and the world is, I think I'm about a third of the way through this book, and the world is women are seen as inferior, which, you know, it's not so much fiction, but they're seen as like really, you know, I think it's because they're so rare. Women are so rare that they're seen as like objects, I guess. So they basically get sold to men. If you give birth to a woman, you have to let the government know, and they end up getting taken, and then they get bought by men once they're of age. But you could be bought by like one man, you could be bought by two, you could be bought by 20, like a group could buy you together. It just depends. You could be sold to a really lovely person and live happily ever after. You could be sold to really awful men and have a really awful life. It is pretty much just luck of the draw, but there's all different species involved, and the human women are very rare compared to other species. So you're following this human woman who is like hiding away. She's hiding with her parents. People don't know she exists, and then she gets captured and they find out she exists, and then she gets sold to these men, and that's where I'm up to. So it's a reverse harem, so you know, she's gonna end up having sex with them at some point, but the men are like, there's an incubus, there's a wraith, and then there's another one which I can't remember what his, but there's all different, you know, species and magic going on. So yeah, that is The Female. I think there's maybe 4 books, I want to say. I would also really like to have these a physical copy at the moment, at some point, but I'm trying to get into the series first before I buy anything. If I really enjoy it, like I'm enjoying it so far, but if I really get into the series I'll probably buy them like as trophies in physical form. But yeah, at the moment I'm just reading it on my Kindle. So that is The Female by Envy Wright. And then next up we've got The Phoenix Keeper by S.A. McLean. I've not read any, the rest of the books now I've not started, I've not read any of them, so I don't really know what they're like about. So the synopsis says, welcome to San Tamculo Zoo of Magical Creatures. Ayla has spent her entire life dreaming of saving phoenixes. She pulled countless all-nighters at uni just to sneak a toe in the door of the breathtakingly competitive field of conservation. Stumbling through failed romance and disastrous class presentations thanks to social anxiety, while also surviving a ferocious class rivalry with the unbearably beautiful, insufferably hotshot Luciana. Somehow she actually did it, landed her dream job as head phoenix keeper at the world-renowned zoo that inspired her as a child, tasked with rescuing the critically endangered silly mallow phoenix from the brink of extinction. There are just 2,000 or 3,000 impossible problems. This was actually a book that was on my 2024 TBR, I think, if I remember, but I've not read it yet, and I don't know if I will get round to it, but it is on my Kindle. I have sort of downloaded it as one of my 10 books, however many you get. So I do want to get it read at some point. I don't know when. Also, I feel like 3, 6, 9, you definitely get more than 10 books. Maybe you can download 15 now. I'm not sure. But yeah, so that's The Phoenix Keeper. Next up we have Afterglow by Emily Antoinette. So this is a sapphic romance between a vampire and one of her friends. And her friend is going through a divorce with a man. She's split up with him. She's divorced a man. I think it's been a really horrible divorce. Maybe he was like cheating on her or something, and she wants to rediscover herself, and her vampire friend is gonna help her do that, like explore her sexuality. I don't think she's ever been with a woman. I think she thought she was straight, and then she ends up exploring her sexuality with this vampire woman who's a friend, and so it's following their romance. So I think it's a bit of like a sub-dom situation, with the vampire being the dom, I would assume. It says Afterglow is a spicy, slow burn, sapphic romance featuring a jaded, lonely vampire and a bubbly, anxious human. So yeah, it's following those two. It's a bit of a romance, and yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to starting this one, and it'll be a new author as well. So I think she's got 2 books out at the moment, but I've only got this one on my TBR. Okay, next up I've got a book called Wasted Time, and I actually don't know what this is about, by Angela M. Swan. I think it's like, yeah, it's like a romance. Oh, it's like a friend to lover romance, I think. It's a story about rediscovering yourself in your late 20s. It's a reminder that sometimes healing can be messy. Most of all, this novel is about the power of friendship and how one good friend is worth 100 stupid boys who break your heart. So I don't mind a friends to lovers romance now and then. I've not really been massively into romance at the moment. Oh, he's a professional hockey player, so that's why I'll have downloaded it probably. I'll have seen something on TikTok about it and gone straight to my Kindle to download it. That's what would have happened. That's where that's come from. But yeah, I don't really know much about it, but I think it's just gonna be sort of one of those romances that, you know, sometimes you just need a good little romance. So that's one of those. And then next up we have got the One Dark Window duology. So One Dark Window I bought, I think, and then I think Two Twisted Crowns, it says it's on Kindle Unlimited, so maybe they're both on Kindle Unlimited now, but I bought One Dark Window when it wasn't, maybe, I'm not sure, but I have them both on my Kindle anyway. So this is a fantasy duology, I think. I don't really know a lot about it. I just know it did its rounds on TikTok like ages ago, and I just never sort of got round to it. So it says Elspeth needs a monster. The monster might be her. An ancient Miosaurial, I don't know what that word is, spirit is trapped inside Elspeth Spindle's head. She calls him the Nightmare. He protects her. He keeps her secrets, but nothing comes for free, especially magic. When Elspeth meets a mysterious highwayman on the forest road, she is thrust into a world of shadow and deception. Together they embark on a dangerous quest to cure the town of Blunder from the dark magic infecting it. As the stakes heighten and their undeniable attraction intensifies, Elspeth is forced to face her darkest secret yet. The nightmare is slowly darkly taking over her mind, and she might not be able to stop him. Oh, okay, that's made me want to read it now that I've like reread the blurb. So yeah, we've got One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig. I'm pretty sure she's got another one coming out next year called The Moth Behind the Flame or something like that, which if I enjoy these, I'll probably read that one as well, but I'm not thinking about next year now. I'm thinking about the books you've already got. Let's read the books you already got. So yeah, I've got both of those on my Kindle. I think I must have bought them both at some point, but it does look like the second one is on Kindle Unlimited, but that doesn't make sense. Anyway, another duology that I've bought that I have on my Kindle, which are not on Kindle Unlimited, is the Dance of Thieves duology by Mary E. Pearson. So you've got Dance of Thieves, which is book 1, and then Vow of Thieves, which is book 2. I don't know anything about this series. I think in physical form I've got the second one, but I don't actually own the first one, which makes perfect sense. No idea why. But this says, a reformed thief and the young leader of an outlaw dynasty lock wits in a battle that may cost them their lives and their hearts, in a new novel from the New York Times best-selling author of The Remnant Chronicles. I've not read The Remnant Chronicles, so I don't know. I can't comment on that. But it says, when the patriarch of the Ballinger Empire dies, his son Jace becomes its new leader. Even nearby kingdoms bow to the strength of his outlaw family, who have always governed by their own rules. But a new era looms on the horizon, set in motion by a young queen, which makes her the target of the dynasty's resentment and anger. At the same time, Kazi, a legendary former street thief, is sent by the queen to investigate transgressions against the new settlements. When Kazi arrives in the forbidding land of the Ballingers, she learns that there is more to Jace than she thought. As unexpected events spiral out of their control, bringing them intimately together, they continue to play a cat and mouse game of false moves and motives in order to fulfill their own secret missions. Ooh, that sounds good as well. It makes me want to like read everything right now. So yeah, I've got those two on my Kindle also to read. I'm noticing now that I'm going through my Kindle like library, a lot of them are fantasies, to be fair. Next up I've got the Hurricane Wars, which I think the second one to it is coming out next year, or maybe they're already out. Let me have a look. No, yeah, the next one, oh, it comes out the 5th of December it says, but obviously I've not read this one yet. So I think this is a fantasy series again. It says, all Taliesin has ever known are the Hurricane Wars. An orphan of the struggle, she uses the power of light to fight for her people against the Night Empire. All Alaric has ever known is darkness. The son of the Night Emperor and their deadliest weapon, he wields terrifying shadow magic to crush the rebellion. Then he sees Taliesin, his sworn enemy, burning bright across the battlefield. The moment they clash, their lives are changed forever. Now a greater threat is rising, and only they can stop it. The coming storm threatens to destroy everything if they don't destroy each other first. Bum bum bum. But yeah, that sounds good. It's not necessarily making me want to jump into it right now. It's not going to be high up on my TBR, I don't think, but I definitely want to get it read at some point. So it says in enemies to lovers, which makes sense. It's this sworn enemy, so hopefully they're actual enemies, you know, because I feel like sometimes when things say enemies to lovers, they're not really enemies, they just don't like each other, you know, or they're like maybe rivals more, or they just don't get on, they just don't like each other, and then they get to know each other and realise they're not that bad, you know. They're not always enemies. Like we're trying to kill each other first, you know, and then somehow it gets from that to lovers. That's what I want. I'm hoping that this sounds a bit like that, so hopefully it is. But yeah, that's the Hurricane Wars by Thea Guanzon. And then next up we've got another fantasy, which is When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. So I know this one did its rounds on TikTok because I think it's got dragons in it, so it went like I say, it did its rounds, but I just never got around to reading it. So this says, as an assassin for the rebellion, Rave's job is to complete orders and never get caught. When a rival bounty hunter shatters her world, Rave found herself captured by the Guild of Nobles, a group of powerful fae. Does that mean, is it going to be a reverse harem? Because I love a reverse harem. If she's captured by a group, my mind just goes to she's gonna fall in love with the whole group and they're all gonna live happily ever after. That's what my mind jumps to. Crushed by the loss of his great love, Dragon Rider, oh probably not then, Dragon Rider Khan Vigor took the head of a king and donned his melted crown. Now on a tireless quest to quell the never-ebbing ache in his chest, a clue lures him into the capital's high-security prison, where he stumbles upon the imprisoned Rave. Oh, so it's not going to be a reverse harem, it's going to be two prisoners helping each other escape, falling in love. Together they seek truths that threaten to unravel everything they know about their world and each other. I do love a good dragon story, but I feel like there is so many like good things about Fourth Wing that I want, not necessarily it to be the same, but I want that to be replicated, where the dragons also have personalities, you know, they're not just like animals that they use to fly on. I want them to actually have personalities. That's what I feel like I've not had again since. So yeah, maybe, hopefully it's gonna be like that if it's a lot of dragons, but who knows? I don't know. I don't even know much else about it other than what I've just said on the blurb. So yeah, that was When the Moon Hatched. Next up we have a little break in the fantasy, and we've got a romance which is called The Pussy Next Door, which is by Amy Award, and it's the Cocky Kingsman series. So this is a group of brothers, the Kingmans, who all like have their own book. A little bit how like Chestnut Springs is laid out, with each book is like for a brother and the love that they find. But all the females in these books are plus size, which I absolutely love. I feel like we don't see that enough, especially with books that are like popular. It's always, you know, a fragile girl or like a really small petite woman, or you know, they're always going on about how small these women are, especially in like fantasy series, which I guess makes sense because I'm not lasting long on that battlefield, you know. I'm out of breath. I am in the corner at the back of everyone trying to catch my breath. I'm not running into that battle, do you know what I mean? I'll take a leisurely stroll into battle and take my time. So it kind of makes sense why in fantasy series they're all usually small, petite, and then they end up really fit. But yeah, in the romance I feel like we don't see it enough. So everyone in this series, I think this is the third, yeah, this is the third one. So I've read the other two and I really enjoyed them. They're just really lovely, cheesy, palate cleanser type romances where there's not loads going on, there's a bit of a plot, not loads going on, it's more just like the romance is the plot, you know. I can't remember what she says it, the author Amy Award says it at the beginning of her books about how they are like, I think she calls them fluffy romances, and that's what they're meant to be, you know, that's the purpose. There's not much, you don't have to think, you're not having to concentrate on what's going on, you can just enjoy it and enjoy the romance, you know. So yeah, and I also love that the plus size women, the female leads, they're not like plus size women where they all hate themselves, and you know, they've obviously gone through things where people have made them feel like they should not like how they look, but they're like confident, you know, got their own shit going on, they're good in their own fields type thing. They're not like dead sad and down about the fact that they're plus size, you know. The fact that they're plus size isn't like their main personality trait, you know. It's not all about the fact that they're fat women. So I really enjoy that, and yeah, I definitely recommend this series, to be fair. But I think I've started reading this and then got distracted with other books, so it has been on my Kindle for a while. It actually says I borrowed it on the 14th of June, so it's been a long time on my Kindle. I think more out of the series have actually come out. Yeah, there's a fourth one that's come out, and then there's a fifth one coming out on the 17th of June. So the first one is called The Cock Down the Block, and then you've got The Wiener Across the Way is the second, then you've got The Pussy Next Door, then you've got The Anaconda Downstairs, and then I don't know what the fifth one's called yet. But each female has like some kind of pet. So like The Cock Down the Block, she's got a rooster, a cockerel. The Wiener Across the Way, she has a little sausage dog. The Pussy Next Door is obviously a cat. The Anaconda Downstairs, I'm assuming she has a pet snake, and that's why they're all called that. But yeah, they're just really cheesy, lovely, easy to read romances, so definitely recommend. Okay, and then we've just got a few left. So one that I have bought, which is not on Kindle Unlimited, is Red Rising by Pierce Brown. So this is like a sci-fi series, I think, but apparently it takes a lot of brain power. Like you're having to concentrate when you're reading this. If you're not used to those type of books, it's a lot to like get into and can be a bit complicated. So that's what's putting me off reading it at the moment. I think I saw it was Hayley Pham that read it and sort of brought it to the side of Book Talk and BookTube that I'm on. But I feel like the fact that it takes so much brain power definitely puts me off, because I just want to enjoy a book, you know. I don't want to have to like feel like I'm stupid because I'm not understanding what's going on. So yeah, that's putting me off. I probably will read it at some point. Like I want to get into reading more fantasy series next year that aren't romance, that are just fantasies, you know, like Brandon Sanderson books, Samantha Shannon books. I always say I want to read the Game of Thrones, which is one of my goals for this year, but I actually don't think I want to. I just feel like I have no desire whatsoever to read it, so why am I like going to waste my time, you know? Maybe at some point I might really feel like the urge to read it, but right now I just don't. And I've got so many exciting books on my bookcase that I want to get to that I'm just not gonna put my time into the Game of Thrones series. But yeah, anyway, there's so many different fantasy series that I want to get into and different authors that are so popular. So maybe once I start reading a bit more outside of my like comfort zone, maybe I'll start on Red Rising. But I don't know anything about it. I don't know what the series is about, but I'm pretty sure it's sci-fi, which again is not something that I typically read. So yeah, that's on my TBR, and it's very low down on my priority list at the moment. And then we've just got 2 left, which are actually both non-fiction books. So we've got both of them which are not on Kindle Unlimited. We've got Me vs. Brain by Hayley Morris, which is an overthinker's guide to life. Also, all of these books that I've bought that are not on Kindle Unlimited, I've most likely bought them at every month Amazon do a certain amount of books that are 99p, and I probably bought them all in that's why I've bought them. I wouldn't typically spend like £6 on a Kindle book unless the physical book is like a tome. Then I might be persuaded to buy it on my Kindle just so I don't have to hold like a massive book, and so I can read it at night and stuff without the light on. But other than that, I wouldn't typically buy a £5-6 book. So these are probably all 99p at one point. But I would definitely recommend, there's some people that put it onto their Instagram. Let me have a look at the one that I always use, and they put like each book, they put the work in, and they put each book that has been it is on sale for 99p. Let me have a look at the one that I always use. Okay, so she's called the story.edit on Instagram. I'll put a little screenshot up of her Instagram page. But yeah, I would definitely recommend having a look because she always puts on the 99p Kindle deals that are on there. So yeah, that's probably where I bought these from. Anyway, back to my Kindle TBR. I've got Me vs. Brain, An Overthinker's Guide to Life by Hayley Morris. So I'm assuming this is just a bit of a self-help book, which sometimes I don't mind reading. I've not really read a lot of them this year. I did read a few, like it was sort of the only thing that I read for a while. But yeah, it's just not something I would pick up, you know, because I think I read to like escape. I don't read to necessarily become more self-aware, you know. So yeah, I don't know, but I will read it at some point. It says, in this book I've overthought absolutely everything so you don't have to. I'll be talking about everything from dating to discharge, mental health to menstrual cups. I might not be able to banish your anxiety or make you feel 100% comfortable in your skin, but I hope I can at least give you a break from the constant brain chatter, and we can rejoice and laugh at how similar we actually all are. It actually sounds like something that I'm gonna really enjoy, because I do have a lot of anxiety and I do feel very self-conscious about things that you shouldn't feel self-conscious about, because it's not things that I can help, and it's things that like most if not all women experience. So it's so silly that we feel self-conscious about stuff. But anyway, yeah, I think I'm probably gonna really enjoy it, but I just need to feel in the mood to read a self-helpy type book, you know. So yeah, that's that one. And then last but not least, I've got How the Pill Changes Everything, Your Brain on Birth Control by Sarah Hill. So I took birth control for a very, very, very long time. I'm not on it at the moment because I just found it was really messing me up mentally, like really having negative effect on me. It's actually really insane that we take the pill. The amount of shit that it can cause you, like the mental health issues, the body changes, the like acne, the things with your hair. It's just, it's insane. Obviously it does, most of the time it does the job of what you need of avoiding you having a baby, but the amount of stuff that comes on the side with that is insane. It's actually crazy, the amount that you have to deal with when you're on those. They're like mood swings, which I know aren't nice for people to experience that are around you, but they're actually really awful to go through when you are the person and you just feel like you've got no control over your mood, over your like actions and your thoughts, and it can be really awful. So I thought this would be like a really interesting book to read. It says, most women will go on the birth control pill at some point in their lives, and our generation owes a lot to it, but it's something most of us know almost nothing about, even though it affects almost every system in our body. Column inches and current conversations prove there are many questions about the pill and its effects. In this groundbreaking book, Dr. Hill will provide answers arm women with the latest science on the pill and reveal how it's changing women and the world for better and for worse. So yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting to read. That's my Kindle TBR. I would 100% recommend getting a Kindle, or at least getting the Kindle app if you don't have a physical Kindle, because I think it's $9.99. It's basically a tenner a month, or $9.95 it might be. It's a tenner a month basically, and there's so many books on there. Even if they're not necessarily popular books, a lot of the TikTok popular books come from Kindle Unlimited, and I always check to see if it's on there because it's just so much easier to read. It's also so much quicker. I find I read so much quicker on here than I do with a physical book. So yeah, I just honestly, I don't know what I did before I started reading on here, or before I started reading on my phone. So yeah, I'd absolutely recommend getting one. I think it's so worth it for the tenner a month, especially if you're going to use it a lot and you don't want, or you don't have the room or the money to have all the physical books. I'd recommend getting a Kindle if you want to read still, or obviously, you know, you've got your library to go to, which is completely free. My library has something called BorrowBox, which has loads of ebooks and audiobooks on there for free, so ask your library if they subscribe to something like that, because they pay for it. I don't pay for anything for that, and it's really good. It has like new books out on there. It's just that it works like a library, so you have to reserve it, and it could be, some books are reserved like August next year, which is so insane. So yeah, but I definitely recommend asking your library. But anyway, that is the end of today's video. I feel like I went off on so many tangents. I hope you enjoyed. If you did and you'd like to subscribe, I would really appreciate it. But other than that, I will see you in a bit.